Hello everyone, SiegeLink here, back with the next episode of Warcraft 3 replays. It's been quite a while since I've done this, but I think I'm probably going to do them a bit more, because even though I personally find them a bit boring to record, they're really easy to record. And I'm kind of at a bit of a slump for what I want to record right now, because I've got quite a lot of games I'm playing, but none I'm too comfortable recording. I'm trying to think of Three Kingdoms Total War, but I'm not too interested in that game, and it takes ages. And honestly, I'm not even entirely sure like what are the best and worst units in that game, to be fair. And I still kind of like Total War Shogun 2 more right now, so I might play that again, but don't think I'm gonna get back into that for quite a while. My an old CS:GO friend of mine did invite me to a small server where they play pretty regularly, so I might get more into that and maybe record some games with him. That's what I'm hoping to do right now, ideally. So there's a lot of possible things I can record, I'm just not sure quite what to do. So I'm in a bit of a YouTube slump right now for what I'm kind of comfortable doing. Yeah, I go through these kind of like gaming phases where I like playing one game quite a bit for like 10 or 15 hours, and then I stop playing it, or probably more than that, probably like 30 or 40 hours. And then I kind of just am like, what game to play next? I wouldn't want to play Smash more, but Smash Ultimate more. But I honestly need like a better, because the area that I have is like so far away from my rotom. I need like a separate rotom for my area.
A player's forces are under attack.
But this game is the first kind of close game I've actually had in this. It was also my first human vs. Undead game, at least that I remember. There was quite a few games I played kind of randomly that I don't remember at all. But for a while I didn't play Warcraft 3 at all because how much I was losing, but now I just started to win nonstop. And I've kind of back and forth nowadays. I'm just not too interested in the game as of right now, but probably will change in the future. So I sent this random guy out to scout, which fun thing I've noticed in replays is that you can actually see the undead like creep, or I forget what it's called. But I know there's a name for it. That's when you can tell it's been a long time since I've actually played this game. You can see it in the Fog of War when you actually can't in-game. But the big thing you're going to want to look at is the upgrades this game, as well as the hero levels. Those are sort of the big factors.
A town is under siege.
And also the supply. Or food in this game. But people still call it supply. Something I did wish this game did, which StarCraft 2 does, is that if you hover over the food or the supply, you can actually see how much fits in army and how much fits in workers. You don't need that too much in StarCraft 2 replays, because you can just do Control A and see the army supply and worker supply. Can't do that here, though. At least, not that I know how to. But early game is kind of standard, just creeping up a little bit here and there. Going up to level 2 for both of us. He's got a little quicker at the exchange of a couple less units, which is fine with the Rod of Necromancy. He doesn't need as many. Or I have to rely on Militia, which I don't like doing. I like doing that for like the first creep spot, and that's about it.
Forces are under attack.
Yeah, but with human, I kind of place human similarly to how I do Terran in terms of the timings. I usually like to stay kind of roughly on like tier 2 kind of tech, and I don't like going to late game, but I also don't like I kind of like early to late mid game. That's where I'm kind of at my strongest, is early to late mid game. Not late game, and not super early game either. So early on, one of the inspirations for me playing The Alchemist is that I watched some esports games of Warcraft 3. So I was like, ooh, the staff, I've never seen this thing, and when I started and used it, took me a while to understand it. I was like, oh yeah, that actually works kind of well with the Archmage. Not so much against Undead, when a lot of their buildings by default can shoot, or the Halls of Dead specifically, but also Spirit Towers. I just immediately TP'd out, and yeah, a lot of damage on me there. And didn't ultimately get a kill. Got a good chunk of damage. If I did get a kill, it definitely would have been worth it, but didn't, unfortunately. Now I'm going to get ranged. Extra range on the rifleman, which you absolutely need for riflemen, otherwise you might as well not even make them. And I've got +1 attack. And now getting an Arcane Symptom and a Vault. I'm going to speed it up a little bit here.
A player's forces are under attack.
Now he's creeping over here. He did a lot better job creeping than I did. I forgot for the longest time about my expansion. I'm pretty certain that's him. Yeah, that's him. So you wanted to check and make sure I didn't have any early expand that he had to pressure. Yeah, because he already cleaned this area out. But honestly, this base you see here, this is kind of what he had for most of the game. Just a single crypt and didn't really produce more. He focused heavily on heroes and tech, but didn't actually really use that properly. He never like got more production, which was a big problem because he was floating a lot of resources for a lot of the game. Like right here. Not to mention he should have made more. Now that I look at it, he should have made more ghouls. He had only 3 over here, which is really bad. So yeah, I go for Alchemist just AoE healing as a whole is just great in this game, I find. Level 1 isn't amazing, but all you really need is level 2 to keep units alive for quite a long time. But I'm going this is kind of like what I like to do, is just go heavy on upgrades for the riflemen, and just make mass rifles, maybe some priests here and there for healing, but just rely kind of mostly on the Alchemist for healing. So he has higher levels, but I've got higher unit count overall for the most part. It's just a little bit right now, but that's going to go much higher later on. I also didn't realize it until I looked at the replay, but I was massively overmining my wood. So I've got, 10 workers total on wood. That is quite a lot. And, I mean, it's not really that bad in this case, because I wasn't really I didn't have the resources for any more army units. But yeah, that was still kind of too many. And yeah, I was still on no upkeep, so it didn't really matter too much here. So now I was gonna look over here, check over here real quick, just to see if there's an expansion. I don't actually remember clicking on that pig. That's kind of funny. Now I actually got some the opposite of Siege Link timing here. Usually the shoe's on the other foot here when I move out way to like the other side of the map. That's usually when my enemies attack me. But in this case, it actually is the opposite. And this is where you can really see how incredibly powerful Siege Link timing is. So he's got better hero levels, but I've got a couple more units, and I've got much better upgrades. So he actually doesn't have any upgrades at all in his Crypt Fiends. And I've got 2-1 upgrades in my Rifleman. I wonder if this is going to come up on the video. I'm kind of moving my fingers in between my my mouth. But I'm not like pushing my mouth, I'm just kind of like walking, like holding my head. You know, a common thing that people do kind of when they're bored. And I am kind of bored today, but I mean, this to me is kind of boring right now, but like at the same time, like it's better than what I would be doing otherwise, which is absolutely nothing. So immediately killed 2 buildings, including the slaughterhouse, which I don't think. Okay, no, he did get the obsidian statue, so he did at least use this game. For a second, I thought he literally didn't use it at all. Now, an important thing to keep in mind is that this is my 2nd win ever. I'm not, like, amazing when it comes to microing, so I didn't realize that he was targeting my heroes perfectly. And here he actually town portaled at perfect timing. Super close to dying here. And I was accidentally actually targeting my alchemist. I was kind of A-clicking around and accidentally A-clicked on my alchemist, which hurt me quite a bit. And I also didn't realize that they were targeting my hero. So I lost both heroes, and he kept both heroes alive. This one wasn't really doing anything, though, because it was so far back. But the upgrades alone were enough to keep me here. At least to kill a couple more Crypt Fiends. And again, at this point, I didn't really care about the footies. I wasn't making any upgrades for them, so I was just, like, using them for tanking. And the big thing was, you know, even with both my heroes dead, I'm way ahead on supply. Even though, to be fair, most of it is in Wood Gatherers, where he's got 3, I've got like friggin' 10. Rebuilds Slaughterhouse, rebuilds a Ziggurat. And this is actually one of the first times that I actually have killed like quite a few like supply buildings and like didn't supply block my opponent. That's usually one of the big ways that I win, is by like they always keep like just barely enough supply buildings to keep them out of being supply blocks. All it takes is killing one supply building and they literally can't produce any units for like ages. But now I've got 2 priests. I also had a bit of an issue early on playing Warcraft 3 how to best control group things, because you don't want priests to like be on an all group, because then you're going to have priests attacking where you want them to just be standing by healing. And I was like, I'm going to have to wait some time to get my Alchemist out, so I might as well grind up and try to get Alchemist to Healing Spray level 2. Now, early on in the game, and I still kind of think this too, is that when I saw the Alchemist played in games, most of the time people would just use Heal Spray and Acid Bomb, and I didn't even know what the second ability was until I started using it. So the Acid Bomb doesn't really do too much damage, but it gives less armor, which by itself I don't actually think is great. And to the point where other people would actually get Acid Bomb first and then go Heal Spray level 1, Heal Spray level 2, because they didn't like Heal Spray too much at level 1, which to be fair is understandable, but I don't like Acid Bomb as a whole. And when I compare it to Chemical Rage, I actually think they're kind of close, but I do think Acid Bomb is a little better. It's just that Chemical Rage kind of helps prevent you from getting surrounded. And as a melee unit, like, most of the time you're going to want to keep him in back so he doesn't get into melee, because he can easily get surrounded. So Chemical Rage basically allows you to attack with him, which is nice. Where otherwise you basically would never want him to attack, because once he gets into melee range, when you have a bunch of riflemen, he's kind of just by himself, and he easily gets surrounded, because he's so slow and clunky. So yeah, I think the way if I do keep playing in the future, what I'm probably going to do is go like Heal Spray like Chemical Rage, or maybe like Heal Spray Acid Bomb. But I do think that within the first 5 or 7 levels, I'm going to get at least Chemical Rage level 1. Just because of the extra movement speed I find very useful to at least prevent him from getting surrounded, like if he's being targeted. Use him kind of like an Invis Potion. But yeah, so he's kind of over here. I move my guys to go for an expansion, which he assumed was already here because he has an expansion going. Another mistake I want to point out is that he was rallying units over here, when what he kind of should have done, honestly, was probably move a bunch of guys, especially because he was, or apparently not at this point. I thought he was floating a lot of resources. Now, here, I'm going to go auto camera for a moment. And I just want you to see something. So he's just kind of looking around his base here. Just kind of staring at it. And now he decides to move his units across the map, and didn't even move all of them. He moved, like, these guys are kind of far back, and he did it very late. So that was kind of seedling timing in favor for me, weirdly. Like, usually it's the other way around, but he at least was kind of close to my base so he could attack me. And even though it might seem like it's a better trade for me, his units, or his buildings, are better defensively. So I decided, you know what, killing a couple of his key buildings is good enough, and I'll teleport back. And I know I have a better army here. He really did not make units well this game. He has 47 supply, and I've got 64. So even though he has a third hero and a Pit Lord, he has no upgrades on his Crypt Fiends. I've got 2 rifles. And the Banshee also, he like never used any of the abilities on the Banshee either, really. And this is another good thing for Chemical Rage, is that if you want to go like melee just to like block your opponent, you can get more damage in. So we pretty much died at the exact same time there. And you didn't actually quite see it, I think I had the camera a bit too high, but I built the scout tower to actually complete this round. But he ran a little late there. And this is actually one really annoying moment for me, is that his Lich is trapped here. And he barely got it out in time. One more hit would have killed it. And he even Invis Potion there, which was really stupid. One way or another I wouldn't have hit because I didn't even realize I had my unit there. But yeah, that Invis Potion was a complete waste, to say the least. If he did that earlier, it would have been a lot better, because he would have been able to save his health entirely.
A player's forces are under attack.
But he decides to turn around, because my units were a bit spread out. But that just allows me to target fire some of his units and kill a couple of his crypt fiends. And again, he wasn't producing like any units, because even when he had money, he wasn't producing them, and he only had one crypt. I think it might have just been his APM not being high enough, like just not being able to focus on two things at once.
A town is under siege.
Yeah, I remember when this used to have like a big arch around it here on Northern
Player's
Isles.
forces are under attack.
And actually, I think this might have been positioned a little bit lower, like here. I was going to go for this just to kind of kill it off, but it's not really too useful, and I wanted to get rid of all the damage I could, so I got rid of the Spirit Tower first. And again, 40 army supply to 63. If I had like any mortars here, then I could stay here as long as I want and just kill them straight up. Now, I don't actually have my Alchemist with me, because he died in the last fight. He went right for my Priest to get rid of my healing, but I didn't care about that too much. I could have targeted the Death Knight, but that was just so heavily damaged, I just wanted to get rid of it. And here I decided to go for the Crypt simply because if I could just kill the Crypt, it didn't matter really. Because he wouldn't be able to produce any units. And again, here, he's target firing my hero, but I've got so many units. And it's one of the things I think this guy didn't realize about the game, is that he was viewing it like 3 heroes, or like a battle cruiser in StarCraft 2, you can just kind of like, or like a carrier, like one unit can just like take on a bunch of smaller ones, but not really so much. You see me running back because he was kind of running away, and I wanted to make sure he couldn't. So I not only take out his heroes, I take out all of his smaller things too. And this was, again, with no hero currently. I've got no hero anywhere close.
Our forces are under attack. Upgrade.
Slowly brought one back. Wanted to kill the Crypt. I wasn't focusing, it wasn't multitasking perfectly, but again, this is kind of one of my earlier games. So I sent Alchemist across with another Rifle and Priest.
Forces are under attack.
And I just really wanted that Crypt, just to prevent him from making units, because as you can see, 29 supply to 58, pretty much all of that's in workers and heroes for him. And if I could take out the altar, then he isn't able to get any heroes, so that prevents him from making literally any units. He did build the Temple of the Damned back here, but Banshees are useless, and Slaughterhouse Obsidian statues by themselves aren't going to be useful. Although he does have a Black Citadel now, so he could turn them into a flyer. And in a moment, something kind of odd's going to happen. Which is something that you always want to try to avoid if you can, even though it didn't really matter too much because I knew the information he gave me I kind of knew about in the first place. So he's building kind of a secondary expansion up here. This is around the time I started building it, but yeah, right here. He sends an Acolyte over here, and if you ever see this in a game, it basically is saying that I have a base near the direction wherever I'm sending that worker, which I already kind of knew. It's just I wanted to take out some of his production buildings first. And just look at the amount of resources he's floating here. It's insane. And you can tell that I had too many workers on wood, because look at that. I did that and never even built an expansion in this game, and I didn't even need it. Now he decides to go back, because he has so many resources, he can just buy back his heroes. Because he just built back the Altar of Darkness, but it got destroyed. And that took up most of his money. But again, heroes doesn't matter if you've just got very well upgraded units. And again, I'm still on tier 2, still not building an expo because I wasn't multitasking perfectly. But just look at the damage in my riflemen here. Look at how many I've got. And just how quickly I'm able to take down his units. And that's when he GG's. So there's a bit of a lesson to people. Heroes are very powerful in this game. They can survive a lot. But you need to use their items very effectively, which I'm not good at. And their abilities very effectively. And even then, you still need units. Even if you're not going to upgrade them, at least make a bunch more units. Because he made very few units that game. Like, not only did he not build a second crypt, he wasn't even producing off of his main crypt for a while. And that was largely due to the fact that he had only 3 ghouls mining wood when he should have had at least 4. But that'll be it for this replay. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next replay.